5:12 a.m., mainland Lagos. The sky outside the louved windows was still the color of wet charcoal when Ethan Adewale's alarm chimed. He silenced it with a thumb, careful not to wake Lila, her deep brown palm resting on his shoulder the way it had every morning since their wedding 4 years earlier, a silent promise that together would always be their first word of the day. But together felt smaller inside this flat than either of them had expected. The kitchen was a single counter, the living room was also Ethan's improvised office, and the bathroom door never quite shut. Still, they'd made the matchbox glow, yellow curtains Lila had sewn from Ankara scraps, a lipstick-red kettle Ethan bought at Balogun Market on a whim, and snapshots of their dating years taped in crooked grids. Ethan eased out of bed, planting a kiss on Lila's temple. "Morning, sunflower," she murmured, eyes still closed. "Sleep. I'll start the oats." Sunflower was his pet name because she always turned her face toward the smallest slice of hope. In the kitchenette, Ethan measured grain into a dented pot, mind already sprinting through the code he'd write for freelance clients before his shift at the electronics shop. A baby would rewrite this routine, tiny fingers tugging his short dreadlocks, Lila humming lullabies, but so far the universe had answered their prayers with silence. Lila padded in wearing his university jersey. Dr. Adekunle called. "Our results are back." "Already?" "He wants us both in his office at 4. That afternoon they sat knees touching in the consulting room, walls plastered with photos of smiling babies. Dr. Adekunle delivered the verdict gently: unexplained infertility, natural conception probability below 10%. Options: IVF, unaffordable, or adoption. Outside, the humid January air felt heavier. Ethan squeezed Lila's hand. "We'll figure it out." She nodded, but a hairline fracture had appeared in her usually radiant confidence. That night Nipa cut power. In the darkness Lila whispered, "Do you blame me?" "Never," he answered, gathering her close. Yet inside he wondered how long love could survive unanswered prayers. Over the following months their ordinary love learned to dodge grief like potholes, quick kisses between bus rides, shared roadside bully, laughter over cheap data so they could stream comedy skits. But some evenings Ethan found Lila gazing at a neighbor balancing her toddler on a hip, tears pooling before she could blink them away. He would hug her and murmur, "Storms don't last." He just hoped it was true. Rainy season rolled in like an uninvited relative who never stopped talking. Drainage ditches overflowed, Okada splashed through puddles, and Lila's longing grew louder than the thunder. Most afternoons she finished her shift at Mama Beezy's tailoring shop, then caught a Danfo to Freedom Park simply to watch parents chase squealing children across the grass. She imagined her own little one, Ethan's dimpled smile, her gap tooth, both of their rich mocha skin. Each fantasy ended with the same cold realization: she had no baby to cradle. One drizzly Tuesday, a 5-year-old tripped and scraped his knee. Lila instinctively cleaned the wound and soothed him with a soft Yoruba lullaby. "You'd make a wonderful mother," the boy's mum said. The compliment landed like a punch. Lila forced a smile, hurried to a restroom that smelled of bleach, and let silent tears fall. She texted Ethan, "Can we talk tonight?" He didn't reply until nearly midnight. Deadlines at the shop had bled into freelance coding. When he finally arrived, laptop bag slung over a sweat-damp shirt, he found Lila sitting amid scattered fertility pamphlets. "We need to try something else," she pleaded. "IVF costs 14 million naira, Ethan sighed. "Then let's start saving, no matter how long. I just landed a big fintech contract. If it goes well, we'll have seed money." She wrapped her arms around his neck, relief warring with exhaustion. They fell asleep on the rug, holding each other like castaways clinging to driftwood. But Ethan's contract became a hungry beast. He stayed out later, rode the last BRT each night, eyes red from blue light insomnia. One evening, as he grabbed his backpack, Lila blurted, "Do you still think about the baby?" "Of course. Sometimes it feels like I'm the only one still hoping." He kissed her forehead. "Hope for both of us." Then he was gone, and the door's click echoed through rooms suddenly too large. She considered signing them up for a couple's retreat but pictured Ethan glued to Slack during the prayer sessions and tossed the flyer away. That night, forehead pressed to a rain-streaked window, she whispered to the glass, "I miss us." August heat settled over the city like a wool blanket. At Mercy Women's Hospital, Dr. Adekunle proposed more hormone therapy and costly monitoring. In the car park, sunlight bounced off bonnets and off their frustrations. 300,000 for injections alone? Ethan muttered. It's less than IVF, Lila argued. By doing what? Selling my liver? Ethan. They drove home in silence. That evening Lila cooked rice and stew. Ethan poked at his plate. Talk to me, she pleaded. There's nothing left to say. There's everything left, she snapped. We're in the same room but miles apart. He pushed back his chair. I can't keep pouring from an empty cup. No one's asking you to pour alone. I'm trying to build a future. And I'm trying to make sure there's an us left when you finish. Words ricocheted like roofing nails. Ethan grabbed his keys. Running again, she whispered as the lock clicked behind him. Hours later he returned, smelling of car freshener and regret. Finding her asleep on the rug, he brushed braids from her face. I'm sorry. I'm scared too. Then let's be scared together, she murmured. They both knew apologies were band-aids on a cracked pipe. Water was already rising. Next morning Ethan left early. A note on the fridge read, meeting investor. Love you. Lila traced the letters but the paper was cold. She spent half her salary on goat meat and a malt drink to celebrate what she hoped would be a fresh start. When midnight arrived without Ethan, the soup congealed and his phone went to voicemail. At 1 a.m. he burst in, eyes wild. I got the loan, 10 million naira. You borrowed 10 million without me? It's collateral-free, angel investors. Are they backing us or backing you? He rubbed his face. Why can't you see this as good news? Because every plan takes you further from me. They slept on opposite edges of the bed, a gulf wide enough to hide an ocean of unspoken doubts. Ethan's fintech dream NimblePay consumed the apartment. Whiteboards, sticky notes, half-empty mugs. Lila woke one dawn to find a programmer snoring on their love seat. She brewed coffee. I'm Lila, Ethan's wife. The stranger shot up. Oh, he said I could crash. Ethan emerged, dreadlocks untamed, eyes blazing. Lee. Meet Charles, our back-end wizard. A peck on her cheek and he was back to API jargon. That evening she suggested a sunset walk over 3rd Mainland Bridge. Ethan smiled wearily. Rain check, sunflower? Demo tomorrow. Tomorrow became his favorite postponement. Lila cooked bulk meals, proofread proposals, prayed over his shoulders, but every kindness felt like polishing a window only she looked through. One Sunday she found a glossy brochure for luxury apartments, balconies overlooking the Atlantic. Dreaming big? Market research, he laughed too quickly. Since when are fishermen in Badagry buying penthouses? Sometimes you have to visualize success. Power cut mid-sentence while Ethan rehearsed. Lila lit a kerosene lantern. Amber patterns danced across walls and the widening canyon between them. I hate that you have to live like this, he said. I don't mind lanterns, she replied softly. I mind feeling invisible. 2 weeks later NimblePay won a startup competition. Investors pledged 5 million naira, cameras flashed, Ethan beamed. Lila clapped until her palms stung, pride and loneliness wrestling inside her chest. Back in a hired Uber she traced raindrops on the glass. Ethan text-chatted with his team the whole ride. At 2 a.m. he crawled into bed smelling of barbecue smoke and victory. Lila pretended to sleep while thinking, will there still be room for me when you arrive? And the smell of pap warming on the stove. Lila hummed as she cooked vegetable soup she planned to freeze for Ethan's coding nights. Tonight, she decided, would be a date, phones off, eyes on each other. She texted a playful invite with winking emojis and a promise of pounded yam. His reply, big investor dinner tonight. Rain check? Disappointment pulsed, but she typed kill it, champ. And spent the afternoon cleaning, pressing the white linen shirt he'd worn at their registry wedding. At 6 p.m. she set their tiny table with candles and chipped wine glasses. 7 p.m. meeting overrun. 9 p.m. traffic, surely. By 10 p.m. the candles drooped into wax puddles. Near midnight Ethan burst in, buoyant. Sunflower, we did it. $300,000 in funding. That's wonderful, she managed, noting the designer jeans and expensive whiskey on his breath. Ethan, she interrupted his victory monologue, I waited with dinner. You never called. Tonight was crucial. So was tonight for us. I'm doing this for us. Which us? Tears welled. The one in your pitch deck, or the two people who once shared ordinary love? He reached for her, but the distance finally showed itself, carved by missed dinners, silent aches, and ambition's relentless drum. I'm leaving, Lila said, voice calm. Leaving to where? To wherever I remember who I am without being your good luck charm. Don't be dramatic, tomorrow we can. There's always a tomorrow in your mouth, she whispered. I'm tired of living in a future that never arrives. She packed one suitcase, clothes, sewing kit, the framed honeymoon photo. Ethan followed to the door, words tangled in his throat. She pressed her palm to his chest, felt the frantic thrum of his heart, then walked into the corridor's flickering light. As the elevator doors closed, Ethan glimpsed himself in their mirrored surface, a man clutching a check while losing everything priceless. Downstairs, humid Lagos night air wrapped around Lila like a vow. Suitcase wheels rattling over cracked pavement, she lifted her eyes to the pepper-red glow of taillights and whispered, let this be the first step towards sunlight. 3 years slipped by like receipts forgotten in pockets. By 2025, NimblePay had mushroomed from backroom demo to one of West Africa's fastest-growing fintechs. Billboards on Eco Bridge flashed Ethan Adewale's confident grin beside the slogan Move Money at the Speed of Trust. Inside the 23rd floor headquarters, he floated through glass-walled corridors in tailored Italian suits, shaking hands with governors, celebrities, even the vice president. Cameras loved his easy laugh, shareholders loved the numbers, and he loved the roar of applause each time he stepped onto a stage. Applause, however, has an echo, it can't hold you at night. Ethan filled the quiet with a new girlfriend, Imani Bakr, runway model turned tech influencer whose cheekbones seemed carved from obsidian. They ruled red carpets, but when photographers left, conversation shrank to brand deals and the next exotic vacation TikTok would adore. At a boardroom party celebrating NimblePay's first million daily users, confetti cannons boomed. Later, alone, Ethan stared at a forgotten wedding photo, he and Lila laughing on Calabar sand. He traced her smile with a thumb until PR chief BORRAH ushered him to a limo. 2 weeks later, Ebony Business Review filmed a penthouse profile. Journalist Adiz Okafor asked, who grounded you during the scrappy days? There was someone, Ethan answered softly, memories of Lila sewing the first startup t-shirts flooding his mind. PR sliced the quote, the article ran without her name. Erasing Lila felt like deleting part of his own DNA. That night, a black-tie gala in Ikoyi glittered with chandeliers. Mid-speech Ethan's gaze snagged on a pregnant caterer who stumbled when a heel snapped. Security helped her away, but old guilt throbbed, a memory of Lila longing for motherhood. At 3 a.m. he woke in his ocean view penthouse, the bed cold although Imani slept beside him. On the balcony he whispered into humid darkness, where are you, sunflower? The wind had no answer. 26 kilometers away, Lila Adedeji, having reclaimed her maiden name, adjusted her headscarf and hefted a basin of cleaning supplies. 7 months pregnant, she moved slower but necessity outpaced discomfort. After leaving Ethan she rebuilt life stitch by stitch, days supervising Mama Beezy's expanded workshop, nights sewing Ankara jackets for online clients. When fabric dust triggered early contractions, her doctor ordered lighter work, so she joined a domestic cleaning roster. Placement agent Madam Grace handed her a new address, Latitude Heights, Ocean View Drive. Rich territory. Lila boarded 2 buses and a Kiki Napep, arriving at gilded gates. A guard cleared her, then an oak door swung open, revealing Ethan. For a stunned heartbeat, he didn't recognize her fuller cheeks and maternity tunic, then shock lit his eyes. Lee. Lila? Good morning, sir. I'm from Ideal Clean Services. Inside the marble-flooded foyer, conversation felt foreign. Imani appeared, diamond earrings winking. Who's this? Cleaning staff, Ethan said quickly. Imani's gaze skimmed the baby bump with faint disdain. Make sure she signs the NDA, she sniffed and vanished. Ethan showed Lila spotless surfaces to polish. You don't have to do this, he murmured. My work is honest. Are you, all right? A stool would help. Fetching an ottoman, Ethan whispered, whose child? Mine. I meant the father. He's not here. For 3 hours they orbited each other like ghosts. Ethan offered double pay, she refused. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Adewale. Hearing his surname almost buckled her, but she walked out before the first tear fell. 2 days later Grace called, client requests you again, triple pay. Hospital bills loomed, Lila accepted. Only staff were home, Ethan was at a summit, Imani in Milan. Relief mingled with confusion. In Ethan's study she found their framed wedding photo and an envelope labeled for Lila. I'm glad you're safe. If you ever need anything, medical, financial, otherwise, call me. E. Heart pounding, she tucked the note away. Butler Chitty insisted the company driver take her home. In the Lexus she discovered a cooler of fish pepper soup, prenatal vitamins, a plush baby blanket, and an unsigned check for 2 million Nigerian nairas. Tears blurred her sight. She hid the check in her Bible, unsure whether gratitude or anger owned her heart. Late that night she talked to the kicking life inside her. Your papa is a mystery, little one, and the man I once called home is trying to pay debts words can't cover. She didn't cash the check. The next visit, housekeeper Madam Funk offered Accra and whispered, Oga Ethan different since he saw you. Maybe God is arranging something. Lila only smiled. Leaving, she passed a vintage turquoise Vespa under a dust tarp, the very model Ethan once vowed to restore so they could ride Lekki shoreline. She traced a clean line through the dust, shook her head, and walked away. Behind her, the Vespa gleamed faintly in dim light, patient as memory. Saturday ushered in Harmattan haze. Ethan met Lila at the door before staff arrived. Over glasses of Zobo. Ethan, seeing you pregnant, are you happy? Lila, I'm alive. That's something. Ethan, I'm sorry, Lila. Lila, sorry for missed dinners, for choosing success over us, or for assuming a check can fix the gap? Ethan, all of it. I blinked and you were gone. Lila, I left because I disappeared. Imani's stilettos clicked closer. Raised voice hallway argument followed. Imani, why is the maid drinking with you? Optics matter. Ethan, her name is Lila. Hours later Imani stormed out, suitcase rolling behind her. Hashtag Bakar breakup trended within hours. PR chief Bola suggested spin, Ethan refused, no more spins. That night he opened a hidden folder of voice notes, Lila humming lullabies for a baby that never came, and wept into his palms while the skyline blinked indifferently. Driving Lila home, Ethan pleaded, let me be a streetlight. My baby will grow on love, not charity. She stepped out, silhouette framed by dim porch light. Ethan felt a loneliness deeper than extinction. All week Ethan's polished corridors echoed with Lila's absent laughter. He dodged reporters, locked himself in his office, and drafted a resignation letter he couldn't yet send. Across town a clinic visit rattled Lila, hypertension, mandated rest, better nutrition, orders difficult on a cleaner's wage. That evening, cramps seized her. With signal dropping, she tapped Ethan's number. He arrived through pounding rain, lifted her gently, and raced to Mercy Women's Hospital. Doctors called it false labor but grave hypertension. She needs monitoring, they said. Ethan vowed, she'll have it. Next morning he sat beside her reading What to Expect When You're Expecting, highlighter in hand. You don't have to do that, she whispered. I missed all the research last time, he answered. She almost smiled. Doctor prescribed prenatal yoga, Lila teased, I'd pay to watch you attempt downward dog. Challenge accepted, he grinned. As they wheeled her out, a billboard of Ethan and Imani loomed, Imani's face half torn by wind. Gloss peeling away, truth underneath. Rain cleared to reveal a rainbow over Third Mainland Bridge. Ethan slowed so Lila could see. Remember chasing one on our honeymoon, convinced we'd find a pot of suya? She laughed. We found a rusty fish trap instead. Still tasted better than any 5-star meal, he said. Their shared laughter sounded like two novices relearning an old language. At her bungalow, Ethan unpacked groceries, plantain, vegetables, folic acid supplements. Text me whenever you need a ride or just someone to listen, he said, lingering at the doorway. She exhaled, palm on her bump. Streetlights remember the roads they guard, Ethan. Maybe I'll call. He nodded, eyes bright with possibilities neither dared name, yet. Outside, dusk painted the sky the same copper hue as the day they first met, and somewhere between silent gratitude and unfinished forgiveness, a fragile bridge began to form. 2 weeks drifted by, a strange limbo where neither Ethan nor Lila knew the new rules. Each evening Ethan sent the same gentle text. Just checking, BP okay? Need groceries? Lila usually replied with a single thumbs up, guarding boundaries as fragile as her swelling ankles. Still, whenever the baby turned, she recalled the warmth of Ethan's hand in the hospital and wondered if refusing kindness was the same as refusing safety. Across town, Nimblepay's glossy facade hid frayed wiring. Rumors about Ethan's breakup and a mysterious pregnant maid fed #fintech soap opera threads. Venture partner Teo Ogundil called a board session. Perception drives valuation, he warned. Fix the drama or step down. My personal life won't derail earnings, Ethan answered. Teo's glare was ice. Markets love drama. Handle it. That ultimatum echoed while Ethan drove Lila to a low-cost prenatal yoga class. She arrived in a loose Kent dress, amused at Ethan's clumsy cat-cow. Looks like a confused goat, she teased. Teacher said flexibility starts with humility. After class they shared coconut water on a wooden bench. Bored wants my head, Ethan confessed. Because of me? Because of clickbait. I won't use you as a shield. I won't be one, she warned. Flashes exploded, paparazzi ambush. Ethan shielded Lila as cameras clicked like locusts. The next morning tabloids screamed fintech tycoon's secret family, shares dipped 6%. Bola barged into Ethan's office with a crisis plan, call her your charity case. She isn't charity, Ethan snapped. She's, the word jammed in his throat. That night neighbor Kemi arrived at Lila's door with pepper soup. Is the baby really his? Internet fiction, Lila sighed. Kemi winked. Help that comes in a bulletproof SUV? God, pick my call. They laughed until the stress knots loosened. 2 days later Ethan convened an emergency all-hands in Nimblepay's atrium. I built this company preaching inclusion, he said. If defending a woman's dignity costs me titles, so be it. Applause thundered, dust shaking from steel beams. Backstage, Ethan felt lighter, a kite finally free of its string. Midweek Ethan parked beneath Lila's jacaranda. She handed him a creased letter, a DNA testing kit order form and an unsigned paternity waiver. The father, Jide Hassan, mailed that after I told him I was pregnant, she said. He offered hush money, then vanished to Canada. He abandoned you, Ethan growled. He feared scandal. He's engaged to a senator's daughter. Ethan leaned forward. We'll preempt him. Press conference tomorrow. No witch hunt, just truth. Spin with integrity, she mused. My mother said, if a story can hurt, tell one that heals. That night they burned the DNA form, Ethan cooking charred jollof in her kitchen while they laughed at the smoke alarm. Later he phoned his lawyers, creating Sunflower Shield, pro bono legal aid for single mums hounded by ex-partners. The next morning, at Lagos Civic Center, Ethan faced a sea of cameras. No, the child is not mine, he said, but her mother's courage inspires me more than any quarterly report. He pledged 50 million Nigerian nairas to Sunflower Shield and his entire 2025 salary. Social media's tone flipped, donations poured in. Watching from the guest house, Lila wiped away tears of relief and awe. Friday dusk brewed a feral storm. Lila left a cleaning shift, sideways rain slashed umbrellas and taxis sprayed red mud. A sharp contraction bent her double. Seconds later Ethan's SUV rolled up, he tracked her location as weather alerts pinged. Half an hour later gridlock swamped the city. Ethan coaxed breathing rhythms while waters rose round the tires. Inside the clinic, nurses whisked Lila to triage, monitors beeped ominously. Blood pressure spiking, a midwife warned. Ethan ordered a private room. At 3 a.m. alarms shrieked. Magnesium sulfate dripped, Lila clutched Ethan's hand. Breathe, sunflower. Gradually the numbers settled. An elderly cleaner, Mama Bola, paused her mopping. When my husband left, she whispered, I raised 6 children selling puff puff. Storms end, my dear, and rain helps seeds grow. She squeezed Ethan's shoulder. Protect your seed. Dawn painted the curtains salmon pink. Ethan watched rivulets on glass, each droplet a missed moment he swore not to miss again. Hospital roof leaks and gossip threatened Lila's recovery. Ethan proposed she stay in his detached guest house, nurse on call, paparazzi barred. She agreed on 3 conditions: she cleaned nothing, could leave any time, and Ethan signed an informal treaty on a napkin. They both giggled at the childish contract. Guesthouse days melted into calm. Dawn tea on the veranda, koi splashing in a marble fountain, Ethan dialed into strategy calls from the main house to avoid disturbing her naps. He surprised Lila with a refurbished sewing studio stocked with bolts of emerald silk. You remembered my maternity line dream, she whispered. Dreams are blueprints, he shrugged. I just ordered bricks. Not everyone celebrated. Blog Niger Spice flew drones overhead, Ethan sued and won a restraining order. Hashtag split between hashtag protect Lila and hashtag gold digger? She deactivated her socials and spent afternoons journaling on parchment Ethan monogrammed with her initials. One sunny day she hosted a mini sewing workshop for neighborhood expectant moms, laughter rang off the walls. Nurse Miriam told Ethan that joy is stronger than any pill. They toured a dilapidated public ward slated for refurbishing. Peeling paint and broken incubators gutted Lila. Ethan snapped pictures, vowed upgrades in 30 days. Their selfie with staff trended as hashtag sunflower revival, scandal replaced by service. That night under a star-drenched sky Ethan admitted, perfection is a lonely mirror, letting it crack scares me. Cracks let sunlight in, Lila said. Nurse Miriam appeared with pills, Lila kept Ethan beside her to hear the instructions, a small but mighty gesture of shared responsibility. In his study later Ethan added one decisive line to his long-drafted resignation letter, effective immediately. Morning headlines blared, Adewale steps down, donates shares to Maternal Health Trust. Stocks dipped, then soared as analysts hailed a values-driven pivot. Ethan ignored the chaos, carrying plantain pancakes and zobo to the guest house. You really quit? Lila asked. Yes. So, billionaire turned doula? First project, fix maternity wards. Second, finish restoring that turquoise Vespa. Third, decide if our sequel is co-authored. Tentative silence. Scar tissue stays, Lila said. If we build again, the foundation must be equal. Stone by stone, he promised. They sorted baby clothes Ethan bought in every size. Lila laughed at minuscule socks, their hands brushed, lingered. Later they attended a father-to-be crash course. Ethan's runaway diaper pin drew belly-shaking laughter from Lila and the whole class. Back home they painted the nursery sunrise peach, adding a mural of a sunflower bending toward a koi pond beside a turquoise Vespa, symbols of growth, resilience, and journeys yet to ride. Dusk draped the garden in apricot light. Ethan's voice trembled. I still love you, Lila. Not the memory, the woman here, now. She inhaled. I loved us once. I love myself now. Let's write new rules, honesty, patience, boundaries. And humor, he added. Useful when the Vespa stalls. The baby kicked hard. Ethan laid his palm on her belly, feeling life drum beneath. Tears spilled. Hello, little miracle, he whispered. Can't wait to meet you. They practiced a birthing mantra, hands entwined. We are safe. We are strong. We are sunlight after rain. Outside, night jasmines perfumed the air, and the moon sketched silver lines around their silhouettes, a quiet signature on the first page of whatever story they would write next. A crimson dawn bled through the guesthouse curtains when Lila's phone exploded with notifications. #ETHANKIDNAPSX was trending. Drone photos, clearly doctored, showed Ethan lifting a struggling pregnant woman into an SUV. A gossip blogger captioned, "Billionaire hides pregnant ex-wife to steal baby." Lila's pulse thundered. In the kitchen Ethan stared at the same thread, jaw set. They cropped out the ambulance logo, he muttered. We were leaving the clinic. More bad news arrived by email. Regulators froze the Sunflower Trust pending an ethics inquiry, and NimblePay's board accused Ethan of sabotaging the brand for personal crusades. As if summoned by chaos, Jide Hassan called Lila's seldom-used WhatsApp. She answered on speaker. Lila, Jide's voice oozed entitlement, this circus hurts my career. Issue a statement naming me as father or I'll sue for custody when the child is born. Ethan's knuckles whitened around a mug. Lila steadied herself. You vanished, Jide. Custody requires presence. I have lawyers now. Think of your image. I'm thinking of my child's peace. Don't call again. She hung up. Her knees buckled, Ethan caught her. They sat at the breakfast island, the world's noise storming the windows. What if the inquiry stalls hospital upgrades, she whispered. Then we speak directly to the people again, Ethan said. But this time together. That afternoon Bola booked Arise News primetime. Between contractions drills and legal drafts they rehearsed nothing, authenticity would be their shield. Studio lights glared like miniature suns. Anchor Rita Nwosu welcomed them before 3 million live viewers. Tonight, the couple in Nigeria's most viral headline. Rita began with gentle fires. Ethan acknowledged stepping down, defended Sunflower Shield, but then ceded the floor to Lila. I am not a scandal, Lila said, sitting tall in sunflower print maternity gown of her own design. I'm a woman who left a marriage, made a mistake, and chose courage over shame. No billionaire kidnapped me. He offered safety when pregnancy and high blood pressure threatened my life. Social media feeds flooded with raising hands and red heart. Rita leaned in. The baby's biological father? Lila inhaled. A man who declined fatherhood when it was inconvenient. I invite him to grow a heart before our child grows old. Suddenly the control room patched in a live phone call, Jide, slick and defensive. Lila is lying, he barked. I'll take responsibility if she proves paternity. Ethan leaned toward the mic, voice glacier calm. Mr. Hassan, responsibility starts with showing up, not suing headlines. End the threats, our lawyers are ready. Ratings spiked, Rita rapped. As cameras faded, she whispered to Lila, that was history. Backstage, Ethan checked his phone, Sunflower Trust's freeze lifted after a flood of public support. He turned to Lila. We need quieter air until the birth. I know a seaside cottage in Badagry. We can finish the quilt of peace there. Lila placed a hand over his. Peace sounds like waves. 3 weeks later, azure swells hissed outside a weather-beaten cottage. Salt air mixed with hibiscus perfume. Ethan sanded the turquoise Vespa under an almond tree while Lila, belly vast, sketched newborn romper designs on the veranda. Mid-sketch, a gush of warmth soaked her wrapper. Ethan! He looked up, eyes wide, the Vespa wrench clanged to the sand. He half-carried, half-guided her to the SUV, voice steady but eyes wild. 30 kilometers of potholes later, they burst into Mercy Women's, now freshly painted sunflower yellow thanks to their trust. Labor roared fast. Lila's pressure climbed, doctors prepped for an emergency cesarean. Ethan suited up, hands shaking as he knotted the sterile gown. Outside theater doors he mouthed, "You've got this, sunflower." She whispered, "Meet me on the other side." Monitors beeped. A curtain of blue cloth separated Lila's mind from scalpels. She focused on Ethan's eyes, mirrors of terror and awe. At 21:37, a wail sliced the hush. "Girl, 3.1 kilograms, the surgeon declared." Tears cascaded down Ethan's mask. Nurses laid a cocoa-skinned infant on Lila's chest. Tiny fingers curled around her thumb, strong, certain. "Hello, Solana," Lila breathed. "Your name means sunlight. You kept your promise." Ethan kissed Lila's forehead. "She's perfect, just like her mother." Outside, journalists waited but remained behind barricades. Sunflower Trust guards handed out free diapers instead of sound bites. On Twitter, #WelcomeSolana trended. Someone started a donation chain to stock rural clinics with delivery kits. That night, under dim ward lights, Ethan rocked Solana, humming the lullaby Lila once recorded in a voice note long ago. Lila watched, heart swelling past the margins of any story she'd ever imagined. 6 months later. Morning sunlight filtered into a refurbished maternity ward. A brass plaque read, "Solana Wing, gift of sunflower shield." Inside, mothers cradled infants on brand new beds while midwives adjusted incubators donated by Ethan's trust. At the ribbon cutting, Lila bounced Solana in a sling sewn from bright Kent. Ethan addressed the crowd, "Every child deserves a safe first chapter. Today is page 1. Flashbulbs popped, but respectfully. Jide's lawsuit fizzled after his own fiancée dumped him for cowardice, and he issued a public apology. Lila accepted it for peace's sake but left it unread in her inbox. Back at the guesthouse-turned-family villa, Ethan balanced fatherhood and philanthropy. Newspaper economists called him the mogul who gave up millions for meaning. He shrugged, adjusting a baby carrier. Meanwhile, Lila's maternity wear label, Sunflower Sewn, launched online to instant viral buzz. Models of all sizes posed in breathable Ankara wraps, part of each sale-funded village midwives. At a rooftop fashion preview, critics raved, empowerment stitched in every seam. That night on the veranda swing, Solana asleep between them, Lila said, "You know that Vespa still stalls." Ethan chuckled. "Some journeys demand patience, like ours." She turned serious. "Do we rewrite husband and wife?" "We already rewrote partners," he replied. "Let's keep drafting chapters until neither of us can imagine a separate table of contents." Under warm lantern light, they exchanged simple silver rings, no priest, no paperwork, just whispered vows, equal, honest, evolving. The sea applauded. A breeze fluttered sheer curtains in a sun-washed coastal home. Lila stood by a wide window, the same pose once heavy with longing, now radiant joy. Outside, 4-year-old Solana zoomed across the lawn on a mini turquoise Vespa, training wheels attached, shrieking laughter. Ethan, sporting a paint-flecked tee, jogged behind, arms out like airplane wings. The restored full-size Vespa rested nearby, chrome gleaming. Tools and toddler doodles littered a picnic table where the family had just finished finger-painting koi fish and sunflowers onto wooden panels for a community art project. Lila opened the window. Breeze carried the briny scent of the Atlantic and the chorus of gulls. She inhaled, eyes shimmering, not with ache but contentment. From the garden Ethan called, "Race you to the fountain, sunbug." The little girl squealed, engine sputtered, wheels wobbling. Lila stepped onto the veranda, camera in hand. Click, Ethan scooping Solana mid-tilt, both laughing. Click, koi splashing in the pond. Click, sunflowers in late afternoon blaze. Each shot captured a moment she once thought impossible. Mother-in-law Aunt Yutend arrived, delivering crates of donated baby slings for the next sunflower outreach. Nurse Miriam, now Solana's godmother, joined for weekend suya and storytelling. Community kids assembled for Lila's free sewing class under the almond tree. When dusk painted the sky violet, family and neighbors gathered around a fire bowl. Solana climbed onto Ethan's lap holding a picture book, The Girl Who Outshined Storms. "Daddy wrote this," she announced. "Mommy co-lived it," Ethan corrected, winking at Lila. He began reading. Flames danced, faces glowed. At the line "We are sunlight after rain," Solana traced a tiny finger across the page. "Like me?" she asked. "Exactly like you," Lila whispered, kissing her curls. Later, when stars embroidered the sky, Ethan and Lila lingered at the window again, this time side by side. The pane reflected a trio, a woman who stitched courage, a man who traded crowns for compass, and a child whose very breath rewrote destinies. Ethan slid the window shut, sealing in night's salt-sweet air. "Remember when that window meant longing?" Lila said softly. "Now it's just a frame for everything we found," Ethan answered. Hand in hand, they watched Solana fall asleep on a woven mat, cheeks sticky with roasted corn, fist clutching a sunflower petal. Somewhere beyond waves, applause from unseen crowds echoed, the world still buzzing with their story. But inside this house, the only soundtrack was gentle surf and a little girl's rhythmic breathing. Tomorrow would bring new chapters, more clinics to refurbish, runway shows, Vespa sputters, bedtime stories. But tonight, ordinary love finally felt extraordinary enough. And for the first time since that cramped flat years ago, together no longer felt small, it felt exactly the size of the world they had built, window by window, sunrise by sunrise. The end.